The question is that the motion be agreed to, and I call the member for Hunter.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The Labor Party is the party that brings Australia forward. We're the party who introduced all of the things that make this country great, like paid parental leave, Medicare, just to name a couple of our nation-building changes put in place by us, the Labor Party. And Speaker, the NBN was meant to be another one of those things that made our country great. And it would have been if the Labor Party had remained in government, but as with many things implemented by those opposite, it became a massive flop. Instead of putting our country ahead of the rest of the world, we were left behind. Instead of making the most of the world-leading optic fibre that was available to us, they used copper. And it was Aussies that copped the consequences of this. They went for the cheap option instead of going for the job done once, job done right. So now, Speaker, we are here to do the job that should have been done properly the first time. Speaker, the internet isn't just a way of the world in the future, it's a way of the world right now. 13 years ago, we wanted to provide all Australians with fast, accessible and reliable broadband, but instead they got the cheap option, which was far from fast and reliable. It's ironic that this cheaper option turned out to be more expensive at the end of the day. Paying more for a product that is not as good? What sort of a deal is that, Speaker? Speaker, this is a government who has a lot of work to do. We have a lot of catching up to do if Australia is to keep up with the rest of the world when it comes to the standard of our broadband. But this is a government who doesn't want Australia or Australians to be left behind. So we're getting on with the job straight away. This government committed $2.4 billion in the October 2022-2023 budget to expand full fibre access to an additional 1.5 million premises by late 2025. We are ensuring all Australians can have access to fast and reliable broadband because Australian families deserve access to internet that is affordable, and it is just a simple fact that if our country is to advance, our internet must meet our needs of small business, education and recreation. Speaker, this is good news for my electorate of Hunter. My constituents will be jumping with joy because of these 1.5 million premises, and 660,000 of these are in regional Australia. Speaker, on this side of the House, we may not wear puffer vests with slogans on them, but we sure do care about regions like my electorate, the Hunter. This announcement is just one example of a focus on regional Australia that will bring practical and significant benefits for all parts of the community, from businesses to families. Speaker, our most recent announcement meant that a further 14,637 households in my electorate will be able to upgrade to full fibre broadband connection. This covers almost all corners of my electorate, from YE to Wangi, Wallsend, Singleton, Glendale, Edgeworth, Coorambong, Cessnock, Cardiff and Bonalds Bay, and this is just the start. The NBN has been vital for our country. There is no two ways about that. The NBN has kept Australians connected, supported remote learning and telehealth, and expanded the reach of small business into new markets and customers. It is good for just about all parts of our country, but sadly, Speaker, there is a digital divide in this country which impacts regional and rural electorates like mine. But we are determined to narrow this divide, and that's why the Minister for Communications made available $480 million to upgrade the NBN, the fixed wireless network, within months of coming into government, something the Coalition promised but never actually delivered. We are also narrowing the digital divide between our major cities and regional communities. From upgrades to Sky Muster plus fixed wireless and the fixed line network, our government is determined to give Australians access to the 21st century communications infrastructure they need and they deserve. It's clear how important this infrastructure is for our country, and it's obvious how important it is for my electorate, the Hunter. This is why it's so important that we finish the job that we started and bring NBN up to scratch, giving Australia the world standard broadband that we first intended to provide. Only an Albanese Labor government delivers for all Australians. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The The question is that the motion be agreed to, and I call the member for Indi.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I thank the member for Werriwa for this important motion. In 2013, the then independent member for Indi, Cathy McGowan, spoke in this very chamber about the ageing and poorly maintained copper wire network for NBN in our electorate. Today, almost 10 years on, and here we are, still talking about the copper networks. Dissatisfied, disadvantaged and disconnected. That's how Strathbogieshire, in my electorate of Indi, and its residents feel about the NBN. Fibre is only available in 2 towns and then only to some. Most of the residents rely on fixed wireless and satellite. The mobile phone system and NBN alike face congestion, slower speeds and dropouts. The NBN rollout has been disappointingly slow. If ever there was a case of over-promise and under-deliver, it has to be the NBN, most especially for rural, regional and remote Australians. In 2020, the Morrison government, however, announced that the NBN was complete. Well, we knew that nothing could be further from the truth. Even where people have an NBN connection, there's absolutely no guarantee that they'll get what they pay for. Broadband providers often advertise speeds which do not match what the customers actually receive. We knew in 2020, when that announcement was made of the completion of the NBN, and we know now that NBN service levels of 25 megabits per second are considered to have been met if a user's connection reached that speed just twice a day. We knew then, as we know now, that the standard of 19 days to provision a new service in regional Australia and up to 3 days to fix a network fault are too slow to attract businesses to regional areas. So when I introduced the Faster Internet for Regional Australia Bill 2022, I hoped it would establish ambitious standards for NBN and other service providers who own and operate broadband infrastructure so that they must meet service standards or face serious financial penalties. Standards such as an average minimum speed of 25 megabits per second. Deputy Speaker, we cannot accept another government putting regional communities in the too hard basket. Programs such as the Regional Co-Investment Fund was established by the former government to improve satellite or fixed wireless NBN connections, including upgrading both fibre to the premises and supporting higher speeds. And this $300 million fund operates on a co-investment model where governments stump up funding alongside NBN Co, where investment would be sub-commercial. However, smaller local councils have sounded the alarm that they are most disadvantaged by this system. Their low ratepayer base limits their ability to co-fund this new infrastructure. And when customers choose to explore other possibilities under the Technology Choice program, it's not uncommon for them to be quoted a $330 fee. One constituent in the town of Bright in my electorate was quoted over $19,000 for the infrastructure installation to get fibre to the premises. We are talking about a service we have already paid for through our taxes. Why are we being asked to pay for it again? On top of this, last week a government discussion paper revealed that NBN Co Chief Executive Stephen Rue was paid almost $700,000 in bonuses for the last financial year. 3 NBN executives collectively received more than $1 million in bonuses during the same period. And these are bonuses. This isn't even their annual salary. By comparison, if the NBN, was to be delivered to every one of the 494 households in Little Violet Town in my electorate, a community who has no fibre network at all, it would cost about $2.2 million for fibre to the premises or $1.2 million for fibre to the node. In other words, it would cost about the same amount to finally give every household in Violet Town the NBN as it would to give 4 NBN executives their annual bonuses. Now, I appreciate the current government has recognised the shortfalls that have resulted from the previous policies on the NBN rollout, but I'm calling on this government to really do something concrete, remedy these failures and make meaningful improvements that will prepare us for the future and bring us what we need today: excellent speeds and reliable service in rural, regional and remote Australia.
The time allotted for this debate